My request to both the spokespersons before we start the debate is please speak one at a time, because if you speak over each other, neither will you be able to hear each other, nor will our viewers. So let me start with you, Mr. Malviya. At the height of the farmers' protest in 2021, the centre had asked Twitter to take down about 1,200 accounts for alleged links with Khalistan. Before that, it had asked the platform to take down more than 250 accounts. The public spat with Twitter at that time. Much of it is recorded. During 2021, saw the Modi government seeking an emergency blocking of the provocative Twitter hashtag Modi planning farmer genocide and dozens of accounts. Twitter had initially complied with some of the government requests, but later it cited insufficient justification. And in subsequent weeks, there were multiple raids by the Delhi police of the Twitter offices. What has Jack Dorsey said today, which you are so offended by, which did not happen back in 2021? Either the request to take down tweets or the raids.
Well, Zaka, we are not offended at all. In fact, we are amused at the lie that Dorsey came out with. And let's not forget, Dorsey spoke about not just India, but he also spoke about several other countries, including the United States as home country. We all know that Twitter under Dorsey was a partisan platform. Their role in the American presidential election has now been chronicled in great detail. The platform was systematically targeting Republican voices, so much so that they deplatformed Donald Trump in the middle of the election when he was still the sitting president of the United States. On the other hand, you had the same platform censoring New York Post article on Biden-Hunter and the New York Times article on Donald Trump, which put out personal details of his tax filings, was made public on this platform, which incidentally is a violation of the US federal laws. Now, this is the track record of Twitter as far as America goes, and even in India, there have been instances where the platform has muzzled expression. It has shadow banned voices that are ideologically not aligned to the core team of Twitter. They've also gone on to the extent of promoting voices that were secessionist in their tone and tenor. And they have done all of this, including Dorsey, who held out a poster called Smash Brahminical Patriarchy, which was essentially an attempt to wade into India's social fault lines. So Dorsey himself is guilty of doing some of these things, and he should have steered clear of meddling with internal political affairs of any country. Now, the era that we are talking about, we had a public discourse of sorts where the rights and powers of these big tech companies was discussed ad nauseum. I remember there was this talk about whether the platforms have more power than the sovereign laws and regulations. Twitter, in particular, and under Dorsey's leadership, had arrogated itself the right to position itself as above the sovereign laws, and they refused to comply with the Indian regulations for almost 2 years. It was during that period that we had this farmer agitation, and we all know that a big chunk of this farmer agitation drew its support from foreign forces, including people who commented on it regularly, and the opposition, the Congress in particular, even then got excited and tried to make it an international issue. However, I did not see any of these celebrities or any of these foreign powers step in when there was a protest, say, for instance, in Canada. Dorsey also did not speak about Canada as a country where similar protests were put down fairly brutally. It was not just the farmer protests that we are talking about. Even during COVID, we knew how Twitter under Dorsey was promoting a certain pharma giant and encouraging people to take their jab. Now, it's a big industry that was at play. And we are very clear about one thing, Zaka, that if you have to operate in India and you have to have access to our market, you have to also follow the rules of the land. And any government, whether it is ours or for that matter any other political parties, the government of the day is completely entitled to ask any social media giant to restrict accounts which it believes is indulging in criminal activity. It is promoting terror, pedophilia, pornography, and there are several similar sections that have been enshrined in the law. So the government can ask a platform to do, and the platform is obliged to follow through.
So
now,
let me ask,
if
the
aggrieved has a reason to go to the court or seek remedial, they're free to do so.
Okay, so let me ask Supriya Shrinate. The law of the land, as Amit Malviya said, is Section 69A of the IT Act 2000. It was subsequently amended twice when the UPA was in power. It allows the centre to issue blocking orders to social media intermediary companies in the interests of sovereignty, integrity of India, defence of India, security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, or public order, or for preventing incitement to violence. There have been multiple requests sent when the UPA was in power to take down tweets that you thought violated any of these conditions. And so was the case when the NDA was in power. So what are you so then offended by what the NDA government asked Twitter to do, which was asked when you were in power as well?
So thank you for having me on the show, and I listened to almost 4 minutes of a State of the Union address, and I hope you will not interrupt me like you did not interrupt my counterpart even once. I think it's not so much about what Jack Dorsey has said. Who is Jack Dorsey? He is the founder of Twitter. He is a former CEO. He does not even happen to be on the board of Twitter anymore. Does he have a reason to lie? Because that was the first response. And contrary to what is being peddled out right now, the first response to Dorsey's interview actually came from the Minister of State for IT. And then, of course, the BJP's fake news factory followed very soon. So who is he? I mean, he said something. He's basically shown the mirror to something that we've always known, which is the mother of democracy is witnessing the murder of democracy every day. My issue is larger, and that has to do on two parts. First, the freedom of speech. And second, what was the government doing while the farmers were agitating? 750 farmers lost their lives while they agitated and protested against the draconian farm laws for over a year. They were sitting right here at the borders of New Delhi. The roads were dug up. Barbed wires were put. They were called Andolanjivis, Naxalis, Atankwadis, Pakistanis, Khalistanis by the very same government, the very same ministers, the very same spokespersons. But the reality is 750 farmers lost their lives while they did that. And what did the government do? One was hoping and presuming that the government of the day was running helter-skelter trying to find solutions, bridging a channel. But what the government was doing instead was to A, malign them, assassinate their reputations, ensure that 1.5 lakh of those farmers still face grave charges in the courts of law. And at that time, it is now clear that the government was trying to suppress their voices. I mean, Jack Dorsey doesn't have one reason to lie today, but the BJP has 1,000 reasons to hide the truth. My problem is larger. My problem is when people from the BJP turn around and say that the farmer movement was funded by foreign money or there was a foreign conspiracy against India. My counterpoint to that is, if that is true, why did the government backtrack? If that is true, why did the government take back the farm laws, which were very draconian? The reality is you were assassinating reputations then. You did not care about the sacrifice of 750 farmer lives. You don't even care now. The reality is that you have an issue with anybody who shows you the mirror, anybody who believes in free speaking. This is the government that arrested a 21-year-old climate activist and alleged that she had a toolkit. They dragged her all the way to New Delhi, and guess what? In the courts, the Delhi police that reports to the Home Minister Amit Shah did not have a single line to prove, and it all came crashing down. This is the same police that arrests a reporter like Mandeep Punia. This is the same police that, this is the same government that is so scared of a Rihanna or a Greta Thunberg. Forget about the Indian opposition, and more on that as we speak.
Okay, but